Some people think tanqr is the best Bedwars player, and some think that minibloxia is the best. And there are millions of opinions on who the best player is. And today, I will debunk who really is the best player in Roblox Bedwars. Today, I will judge the best players into 3 different categories: PvP, building, and IQ, which in general, you have to be good at all of them to be the best player. And that means there's a point system that is best out of 30, meaning each column is 10 points. And let's get on. First off is Fulton. His PvP is a 9.5, his building is a 9, and his IQ is a 6. In total, a 24.5 out of 30. Now, even though he's a roleplay YouTuber, he has some crazy clips of him hitting insane 360s on his live streams. And as you guys saw right there, he is really good with the bow, and that's exactly why I gave his PvP such a high rating. Next up is Rainer, and I give him a PvP of 8, building a 6, and an IQ of 8. And to be honest, Rainer was a crack player, maybe back then one of the best. Then one day he randomly stopped and just left, just like my dad. And obviously over time he probably got a lot worse. So we got a total of 22 out of 30. Digi is the next person up, and he's absolutely insane. I give his PvP a 9, a building a 9.5, and an IQ of 8.5. And the reason I say this is because he trolls in all of his games and still pops off, and he does insane challenges while winning every single one of them. And the reason is so cracked because he can click up to 60 clicks per second without an auto clicker, and he might be one of the best players in the world. And this puts him in first place out of 27 out of 30. And one of my favorites on this list is Qbink. He has a PvP of a 7, a building of an 8, and his IQ is obviously a 10. And he has these insane videos, and honestly, everyone loves him. Who doesn't? But I wouldn't say he's the best at Bedwars itself. I've seen some clips of him, some of his live streams, and I don't think he's that good at the game, to be honest, but his IQ is obviously very high. So I give him a 25 out of 30. One of your favorite YouTubers is next up, and that is minibloxia. I give minibloxia 10 on PvP because he is one of the best in the game at the bow, debatably better than Fulton. His building is also a 9, and his IQ is a 9. minibloxia literally started his channel just to flex on how good he was at the game, and that gives him a total of a 28 out of 30. But can tanqr do better than this? Next up is Rectway, another roleplay YouTuber, and this man isn't that really good at Bedwars. I give him a PvP of 7, building of 6, and an IQ of 7. And all of this equals around 20 out of 30, which is pretty bad. And to be honest, I played against him in a couple 1v1s, and he really isn't that good. Next up is one of the very first girls to record Roblox Bedwars, and that is HotAlex. I mean MoonfallX. But something might surprise you. I 1v1'd her, and to be honest, I give her a PvP of 8. She knows how to land combos, and she gets the understanding of PvP, but her building's a 4, and her IQ is 5, which equals of a total of 17. But other than that, her PvP honestly is very good. And we'll add attractiveness to her, which is also a 10 out of 10. I mean, yeah, let's just go with the grand total of 17 out of 30. The next contestant is the world's best mobile player, and that is JN Protagonist. He's very good at PvP and has a solid 9, but his building is pretty slow on mobile, and I give him a 5. But other than that, his IQ is an H, which leads his total to 22. Mylon was next up, and he had the most interesting story. Mylon and the devs had some really big beef, but that didn't stop Mylon, and he got Nightmare within 24 hours again. He literally got Nightmare twice in one season, which is absolutely insane. So I give his PvP a 9, a building a 9, and also an IQ of 9, just 1 point behind minibloxia. Next up is Chex, and as you all know, recently he changed to roleplay videos, but before that he was a god at Roblox Bedwars. He would get the highest streaks in duels back then before it got broken again, but he also was a god at PvP. So I give him a 9 for PvP, 10 for building because he was insane at it, and also a 7 for IQ, which brings his total to a 26 out of 30. One of the best Roblox Bedwars short YouTubers is next up, and that is Rojo Epic. Rojo Epic, I think, is the king at telepro clutches, and also is one of the best bowers in Roblox Bedwars. So I give him a PvP of 10, a 7 on building, and also a 9 on IQ, which brings his total to 26 out of 30, which is close to first place, but quite not there. Now next up is C Kevin. Hear me out real quick, alright? He's a pretty smart player. He always knows what to do. Even though he trolls, he still has insanely good gameplay. So I give his PvP an 8, I give his building an 8, and I give his IQ a 10. His total after that becomes a 26 out of 30, but once again very close. But let's move on to the final one. tanqr. The last and final person is tanqr, and I bet about 50% of people that play Bedwars think he is the best Roblox Bedwars player. But today I'll be deciding that right now. tanqr has set maybe over 13 world records in the past, and all of them have been crazy, like the most kills in a game. He's also one of the most smartest players in Roblox Bedwars. He's so good in almost all of his videos. He literally trolls and still gets tons of kills and still wins. tanqr also created every single type of PvP method there is in the game. So I give tanqr a 10 on PvP, a building a 9, and also his IQ is a 10, which means tanqr wins because he got a total of 29 out of 30, and tanqr is the best player in Roblox Bedwars.